Did you know that the average person spends about 2.5 hours each day procrastinating? That's a whopping 17.5 hours a week. Yes, that's nearly 2 full workdays lost to scrolling through social media, watching videos, or putting off tasks that need to get done. Just imagine what you could accomplish with all that extra time. Think about how many of your goals you could reach if you harnessed those hours. It's not just about lost productivity. It's about lost potential. Time that could be used to develop a new skill, pursue your passion, or even just rest and recharge properly. So, let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm really excited about today's topic because it's something that hits home for all of us. Procrastination. You know what I'm talking about, right? That moment when you know you should be doing something productive, like working on that assignment, finishing that project, or even just folding your laundry, but instead, you find yourself watching yet another video, checking your phone for the 100th time, or mindlessly scrolling through Instagram or TikTok. It's that nagging habit that gets in the way of your productivity, that little voice that says, you can do it later, but later never seems to come, does it? Instead, you're caught in this loop where you keep putting things off until the last minute, only to end up feeling stressed, overwhelmed, and, let's be honest, kind of guilty. But here's the good news. You don't have to live in that cycle of procrastination forever. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 super simple hacks that will help you kick procrastination to the curb and finally get things done. These hacks are not just about being more productive. They're about regaining control of your time, lowering your stress levels, and getting closer to your goals. So, are you ready? Let's dive in. All right, before we jump into the solutions, let's talk about what procrastination actually does to us. It's not just about putting off a task. It's about the effect that delaying important work has on your mental and emotional health. Think about it. How many times have you put off a task, only to have it hanging over your head for hours, days, or even weeks? That nagging feeling doesn't go away. In fact, it grows. And the longer you wait, the more daunting the task becomes. Procrastination isn't just a time waster, it's a stress-induced. Every time we push off something important, we're creating a pile of unfinished tasks. And when those tasks start stacking up, so does our anxiety. Suddenly, what could have been a simple task seems like an overwhelming mountain of work. This not only affects your productivity, but also your mood, your confidence, and your mental clarity. Let's be real. When you procrastinate, you're not really relaxing, right? You're just adding stress to future you. And that future you is going to be even more stressed out. Because now, not only do you still have the work to do, but you also have to deal with the pressure of the impending deadline. It's a vicious cycle. 1 minute, you're casually putting something off, and before you know it, you're pulling an all-nighter, scrambling to finish, and regretting all that time you wasted. I've been there too. I remember one time in college, I had a paper due, a big one, like 15 pages. I had weeks to do it, but every time I thought about it, I got overwhelmed. I kept telling myself I'd start tomorrow. And guess what? Tomorrow never came. Before I knew it, it was the night before the paper was due. There I was, chugging coffee at 2 a.m., trying to crank out a full research paper in one night. Not only was it stressful, but the quality of the work? Let's just say it wasn't my best. I passed the class, but I knew I could have done so much better if I had just started earlier. Does this sound familiar? Do you ever find yourself putting off important tasks only to end up rushing through them at the last minute? If so, you're definitely not alone. Procrastination is something that so many of us struggle with, but it's also something that we can overcome. Now, let's break down the psychology behind procrastination a little bit. Why do we do it? Well, It turns out that procrastination is often less about laziness and more about fear. Fear of failure, fear of not doing the task perfectly, fear of it being too difficult. Sometimes, the idea of starting a task is so intimidating that we'd rather avoid it altogether. Our brains are hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And let's face it, starting something challenging can feel painful. So, we opt for the short-term pleasure of distraction, like checking social media or watching TV, instead of facing the discomfort of starting the task. But here's the thing. Avoiding the task doesn't make the fear go away. It just postpones it. And when the deadline is looming, that fear becomes even more intense. This is why we need to break the cycle and take back control of our time and our minds. The good news is, once you understand why you're procrastinating, you can start to tackle it head-on. All right, now let's get into the solutions. I promised you 5 simple hacks to defeat procrastination, and I'm about to deliver. These aren't just quick fixes. They're strategies that you can start implementing today to take control of your time and boost your productivity. First up is the Pomodoro technique. If you haven't heard of it before, let me break it down for you. The Pomodoro technique is a time management method that involves breaking your work into short, focused intervals. Traditionally, you work for 25 minutes straight, then take a 5-minute break. After 4 rounds of this, you take a longer break, around 15 to 30 minutes. Here's why this works. 25 minutes is a short enough time that it doesn't feel too overwhelming, but it's long enough that you can actually get some serious work done. It's like giving your brain a mini sprint. You'd be surprised how much you can accomplish in just 25 minutes when you're focused. And the best part? After those 25 minutes, you get a reward. A 5-minute break to stretch, check your phone, grab a snack, or just breathe. This keeps you from feeling burned out and helps keep your energy levels up throughout the day. The Pomodoro technique is especially helpful if you're someone who gets easily distracted or overwhelmed by large tasks. By breaking your work into smaller, time-bound chunks, you're able to stay focused without getting bogged down by the thought of having to work for hours at a time. Here's a little story. A friend of mine was working on a huge project for his job. We're talking dozens of spreadsheets, research, and analysis. He kept putting it off because it just seemed like too much to handle. I suggested he try the Pomodoro technique, and within a few days, he told me it had completely transformed the way he worked. He said that knowing he only had to work for 25 minutes at a time made the project seem so much more manageable, and those regular breaks kept him from feeling drained. Not only did he finish the project on time, but he also felt more energized and less stressed throughout the process. So, if you haven't tried the Pomodoro technique yet, I highly recommend giving it a shot. It's simple, effective, and can completely change the way you approach your work. Next, let's talk about breaking tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks. Have you ever looked at a big project or task and thought, where do I even start? That feeling of overwhelm is often one of the biggest reasons we procrastinate. When something feels too big or complicated, it's easy to put it off because you don't know how to tackle it. The solution? Break it down. Instead of thinking about the entire project, focus on just one small part of it. For example, let's say you need to write a 10-page report. Instead of thinking, I need to write 10 pages, break it down into smaller steps. Research the topic, create an outline, write the introduction, and so on. Suddenly, the task doesn't seem so overwhelming anymore, does it? Each step feels much more doable, and with each completed step, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment that will motivate you to keep going. Think of it like climbing a mountain. If you focus on the peak, it can seem impossible to reach. But if you focus on taking one step at a time, before you know it, you'll be halfway up the mountain. A personal example. I once had to redesign an entire website for a client. It was a huge project, and I kept putting it off because it felt so overwhelming. But then, I broke it down into smaller tasks. Choosing a color scheme, designing the homepage, creating the navigation menu, etc. Once I had those smaller tasks laid out, I didn't feel as overwhelmed anymore. I could focus on one thing at a time, and before I knew it, the entire website was done. So the next time you're facing a big task, try breaking it down into smaller chunks. Not only will it make the task feel more manageable, but it'll also give you a sense of progress and momentum that will keep you motivated. Now, this next one is a biggie. Eliminating distractions. Let's face it, in today's world, distractions are everywhere. Whether it's your phone buzzing with notifications, emails popping up, or the temptation to check social media, distractions are one of the biggest productivity killers out there. The key to beating procrastination is to create an environment that helps you stay focused. That means identifying what your distractions are and taking steps to minimize them. If your phone is your biggest distraction, try putting it on silent or turning it off while you work. There are also apps you can use that block distracting websites or social media during your work time. One app I've found helpful is called Forest. It's a productivity app where you plant a virtual tree, and the longer you stay off your phone, the more your tree grows. If you pick up your phone before the timer's up, your tree dies. It's a fun way to stay focused and beat phone distractions. Another strategy is to set up a designated workspace. If you're working from home, try to create a space that's free from distractions, like a quiet room or a desk that's just for work. If you can, avoid working from your bed or couch, as it can be tempting to relax or get too comfortable in those spaces. Remember, your brain needs time to focus, and every time you get distracted, it takes about 25 minutes to fully regain your focus. So, eliminating distractions is key to staying productive and avoiding procrastination. Let's talk about deadlines. We all know the power of a deadline, right? There's something about having a time limit that lights a fire under us and pushes us to get things done. But here's the thing. You don't need to wait for someone else to set a deadline for you. You can create your own deadlines, even if there isn't an official one. Self-imposed deadlines can be incredibly powerful, especially if you struggle with procrastination. The key is to create a sense of urgency. For example, if you have a project that's due in 2 weeks, don't wait until the last minute to start. Instead, break the project into smaller parts. Remember our second hack, and set a deadline for each part. This will help you stay on track and avoid that last-minute scramble. I know someone who sets deadlines for everything, even personal projects. Whether it's finishing a book, cleaning their house, or working on a side hustle, they create a timeline and stick to it. They say that without those self-imposed deadlines, they'd never get anything done. It's all about creating a sense of accountability, even if it's just with yourself. One way to make your self-imposed deadlines even more effective is to share them with someone else. Tell a friend or family member about your deadline and ask them to check in with you. This adds an extra layer of accountability and can give you that extra push to meet your goals. And finally, let's talk about rewards. This one might sound simple, but it's incredibly effective. When you finish a task, give yourself a reward. It doesn't have to be something big. It could be a snack, a quick walk outside, or an episode of your favorite show. The idea is to create a positive association with completing your work. When you reward yourself for finishing a task, you're training your brain to associate productivity with pleasure. Over time, this can help build better habits and make it easier to get started on tasks in the future. Here's a little personal example. I used to struggle with writing. I love creating content, but sometimes the thought of sitting down and writing a long article felt like such a chore. So I started setting small rewards for myself. After writing for an hour, I'd treat myself to a coffee or take a 10-minute break to watch a funny video. Those small rewards made the process so much more enjoyable. And over time, I actually started looking forward to my writing sessions. Rewards don't just have to be for big tasks either. You can reward yourself for completing smaller tasks too. It's all about creating a system where you feel motivated to get things done. And the more you reward yourself for productivity, the easier it becomes to stay focused and avoid procrastination. Now, out of all these hacks, I want to take a moment to highlight the Pomodoro technique as the most effective. Why? Because it's simple. It gives you immediate feedback on your productivity, and it's incredibly flexible. You can use it for virtually any task, whether you're studying, working on a creative project, or even doing chores around the house. What's great about the Pomodoro technique is that it helps you build momentum. Once you get into the flow of working in short, focused bursts, you start to realize just how much you can accomplish in a short amount of time. It turns work into a series of manageable sprints rather than a long, exhausting marathon. And the best part? Those regular breaks allow you to recharge and stay fresh. Instead of burning out after hours of work, you're able to maintain your focus and energy throughout the day. Implementing this technique could truly change your entire approach to work and productivity. If there's one hack you take away from this video, let it be this one. So, let's recap. We've covered 5 awesome hacks to defeat procrastination. 1. The Pomodoro technique. Short bursts of focused work with regular breaks. 2. Breaking tasks into smaller chunks, making big projects feel less overwhelming. 3. Eliminating distractions, creating an environment that helps you focus. 4. Setting deadlines. Even if they're self-imposed, they create urgency and accountability. 5. Rewarding yourself, positive reinforcement to build good habits. Each of these strategies can help you reclaim your time, lower your stress levels, and boost your productivity. Remember, beating procrastination isn't just about getting more done, it's about feeling more in control of your time and your life. It's about reducing that nagging stress that comes with putting things off and creating a more balanced, fulfilling routine. Now, I want to hear from you. What are some of your biggest procrastination challenges? Do any of these hacks resonate with you? Or do you have your own strategies that help you stay on track? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation and share our experiences. After all, we're all in this together. And if you're looking for more tips on productivity, time management, or how to tackle procrastination, make sure to check out my other videos. I've got tons of content designed to help you achieve your goals and live your best life. So hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Let's tackle procrastination together, one hack at a time.